Our project's name was the Beetle bag, and it was designed by Gabe Kretsch, Elise Coatney, Christian Perry, and Cami Stiles.
Our project challenged us to create a fabric bucket that can hold a gallon of water for at least a minute. Our project was designed to simulate the situation of transporting water in a third world country, so it had to be light. It'd be better if the materials were able to be locally sourced and also easier to carry than something like a clay bucket. We couldn't use any pre-waterproof materials, but we were given freedom in how to waterproof our fabrics, whether that be wax or coatings. The first challenge of this project was how to make something waterproof. According to our original research, both bugs and plants used wax coatings as a waterproof layer and as protection, the plants being called a cuticle and the bugs spreading it on their exoskeleton. So we decided to also use a wax coating on our fabric in order to waterproof. We found in our research that in order to make a waterproof wax coating, they tended to use beeswax, paraffin wax, and mineral oil.
The initial design we had was something of a purse-like structure. Basically, we'd have one long piece of fabric stitched with two smaller pieces acting as walls. It'd also have a drawstring function on top acting as a makeshift lid. At this point in development, we didn't know what color the fabric would be, so when designing we went with the standard gray color as a filler. And we were unsure of where we were going to go when designing, but we did intend to coat the bag with beeswax in order to waterproof it.
We tested 4 different kinds of fabric with 3 different kinds of waterproofing. 3 of the fabrics were made of 100% cotton, but with different textures: standard cotton, denim, and velvet. The final fabric was a combination of modal, polyester, and spandex. We coated a small swatch of each of these with beeswax, paraffin wax, and a combination wax in order to see what was going to be the most effective. These swatches allowed us to narrow down our options and eventually decide on using a standard 100% cotton with the combination wax, as it was thin, flexible, and met all of the requirements. The graph on the screen shows the pros and cons of the different swatches that we ended up making. So off to the side, you have the 4 different kinds of fabric, and on top you have the 3 different kinds of waterproofing, as well as how the fabric acted pre-waterproofing. So the hollow stars were some of the last options, with the black star showing the option that we ended up going with it having the most pros.
After we tested the waxes, we had to alter our design a little bit. We based our measurements off of a gallon jug of water, which ultimately created a much more circular project than we intended. We had to use one large piece of fabric as a circular base, with one stitch lining from the top to the bottom, with a rounder base at the bottom to more evenly hold water. We still included the drawstring in order to make sure there was safe travel, and we also painted the blueprints red this time, since we had an idea of what color fabric we'd be using and we knew which waxes worked the best.
The larger bag was waterproofed before sewing. The combination wax was heated and applied with a disposable paintbrush on one side, and then the excess was scraped off once the wax dried. The other side of the fabric was not waterproofed.
The next step was to sew the bag together.
Bag to be created, I modeled the dimensions after a 1-gallon water jug. So it's about 27 centimeters tall and about 18 centimeters across. Inside you can see when I sewed the bag, I sewed it inside out. So the seams are all here. And then when you look even closer, you can see that there are 3 layers of fabric. So then the bottom circle also is 3 layers thick. And then to make sure that the bag, was nice and secure when we had water in it, we have a drawstring closure. So just like this. And then 2 handles at the top, which creates for easy carrying.
This is our bucket being tested at FEDD. There are 2 pitchers of water being put inside of it, as that is 1 gallon. As you see, unfortunately, some drops of water is starting to come out of the bottom. So that means our bucket did not hold up to the standards. That was the test of holding 1 gallon of water for 1 minute. So unfortunately, our project did fail at FEDD.
One thing we would do next time is to have multiple backups. We only had one during this FEDD project, so it worked initially, but obviously it failed in the video. But yeah, always be prepared, always have multiple backups to test everything out.
Something else we think we could improve on in the future is also adding more layers of the fabric. We decided that 3 was enough, but it turns out with the gallon of water, just the immense weight being pushed down to the fabric, that 3 layers was not enough. We think maybe 5 or more would have been worse.
Advice to incoming freshmen, just don't be afraid to fail. It's kind of a daunting project, but you're going to be okay. The goal of the project is for you to learn the engineering steps, and obviously you want to do well on your project. Winning is fun, but it's not everything. So just go out there and give it your best, and you'll be okay.
Piece of advice, don't procrastinate. Start as early as possible. You might sit there and think you have so much time, all the time in the world to get this done. You've got months, but it all happens so fast. And being a freshman, you've got so much other stuff going on.